You are frustrated because you want instant answers from God. But let me tell you something today. God actually works in seasons, and that is why healing does not always happen when we want it to happen in our lives. But healing rather happens when God really knows that we are really ready. And that is why today we are going to be talking about healing in God's timing, not yours. Now, let us begin by talking about waiting seasons. I want you to know that life have waiting rooms. And that is why sometimes when you pray for healing to take place in your life, healing from heartbreak, healing from disappointment, healing from sickness, or healing from emotional wounds. But as a human, we want this healing to really take place immediately in our lives. But God does not work in that way. And that is why God really allows waiting seasons. And this is to really tell us how waiting seasons are very important and crucial in our life, because waiting seasons actually help you to develop trust. Waiting seasons actually help you to develop maturity, and this is very important. I hope you know so. Just like seeds do not develop overnight to trees, and that is how life is also. And when it has to do with healing, healing takes time to really grow and also blossom in our lives. And that is why I want you to know that waiting room, this does not really mean that God has forgotten about you. If you are in your waiting room, that does not indicate that God has really abandoned or forgotten about you. But I really want you to know that this rather means God Himself really preparing you for something deeper in you that does not need to be actually rushed. Now, let us talk about trusting God's process. Trusting is really tested in waiting. So, when you cannot really see the answers you seek, will you still trust God? This is a question you really need to answer. I want you to know that healing is not all about removing the pain in your life, but rather it is really about God reshaping your heart and building your faith in Him. And that is why in the book of Proverbs tells us that trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not in your own understanding. That is what healing in God's timing really looks like. For you to choose to rest in His wisdom, even when your feelings want it to give up. This is very important. Lastly, I want us to really talk about the danger of you rushing your healing process. I want you to think about this. If you really rush the healing process, you end up carrying broken pieces into the next chapter of your life. And this is real, I must tell you. Rushing makes you to settle for less. Rushing makes you to repeat the same mistake that you've made before, and this is very bad. And finally, rushing really makes you to miss God's best things for you, because God has made us to understand that His thoughts for us, they are good and not of evil. And so, if you rush into your healing process, you really miss the best package that God really have in stock for you. Now, let us go practical. If you have a wound that have not really been healed, okay, and you put pressure under the same wound, what will happen? The wound will really open up again, and you know the pain that this will cause you. will really be painful. And I know you understand this situation, right? The same goes to spiritual and emotional unfinished healing processes in our life. God did not really want you to rush this your healing process because it is very dangerous, and that is why God is really protecting you from further pain. God really feels pity for you in that pain you are. He is not happy, and so God does not want you to really rush your emotional and spiritual healing process so that He can really protect you from further pain to reoccur in your life. I want you to always remember that God's timing is not God's denial, but rather it is God Himself preparing you. Healing may not come to us the way we want it to come immediately when we need it, but I am assuring you that God will definitely bring the healing completely when God says it is time. Because in Ecclesiastes, in his word, he said there is time for everything. I want to really use this medium to really encourage you that if you are really in your waiting season right now as we speak, I want you to drop a comment and say, I am trusting God. And let us encourage each other in the process. This is Simplicity in Peace channel. I have other great content in this channel. I really want you to check them out if you have not. And if this video really makes sense to you, I want you to give it a like, share it with others, and subscribe to this channel for more uplifting content. Do not give up because healing is on the way, but in God's timing. I'm Dora Bob, and I will see you in my next video.